Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It's Thursday. It's Family Feud Day. We don't have Meg Braden here to save us today. We will be left with just Dallas and JRod on this Thursday. Do we have a full day of Dallas? Yeah.
Oh yeah, full day of Dallas. Off day Dallas. Yeah.
Off day Dallas.
Off day Dallas.
Woo. Okay.
Yep. Got up this morning, crushed Pilates workout, ready to pod with the boys.
Strip mall Pilates.
Strip mall Pilates. That's right. Strip mall Pilates for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Ben Mackey. Yes, great workout.
Okay.
Great workout.
Would you recommend Pilates to me?
I would absolutely recommend Pilates to you. Why? Because you have shitty range of motion.
I do.
You're not as flexible as you could be.
No,
and
not even close.
I'm telling you right now, like I could tie myself into a pretzel after Pilates. And my dear friend, who is a yogi, she's a yoga instructor. She's up my ass about not doing yoga. And I'm like, hey, I physically need to start moving before you start tying me into a fucking pretzel in a 105-degree sweat box. Fair enough. Can I just start to ease into this? So I would, as far as Pilates go, incredible stretching workout. And you can also start to add resistance. I mean, it's a workout. It's a fucking workout, but you get on that reformer, that shit'll humble you real quick.
You know what's going to happen, Jayhay, is next year, fucking Yogi Dallas is going to be like, you know, I think I can do it again. You know, shoulders feeling pretty good, feeling loose.
No.
I mean, Pablo Sandoval's fat asses out there pitching the independent leagues. Yeah.
We do these exercises that I do with the shoulder. And this is, I'll be honest, there's two things that have felt significantly better in my brief time doing Pilates. My shoulder and my upper thoracic, like my thoracic back, like that has opened up, and my hip.
It's happening.
My hip feels great.
Who would you want to replace Dallas as a co-host when he goes back to playing professional baseball? Who do you want?
Oh, that's a great question. I say we just lean into the awkward and we offer Eric Hosmer a deal he can't refuse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He would do it.
Get him over to the big leagues of podcasting and let him take Dallas's chair. I got to say though, to your initial point, before we talk about a Dallas Major League Baseball comeback, can he win the Dinger Derby one time?
Oh yeah, that's a great point.
What the fuck? I'm going against a fucking college kid. What
I'm
do you
just
want
saying,
me
if your thoracic and your hip are as open as you're talking about, then let's just go ahead and notch one belt before we talk about a Major League Baseball comeback. That's all I'm saying.
That was pre-Pilates. Right now,
understand that, but you have
ago.
to win the Dinger Derby before I'm willing to entertain you getting back on a big league mound.
Well,
that was Connor Jeffers. All due respect to him, you know.
Yeah.
I think you have to overcome Connor before you can talk about overcoming Major League Baseball players.
Connor Jeffers, my final boss for the Dinger Derby.
Yeah. Let's beat him first.
Jake is probably going to get a spot start in the big leagues based on his Dinger Derby performance before I get there.
You want to throw Jake's name into the mix too. You got to beat Jake also.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it was the performance until the performance of the Dinger.
Depending
Derby,
depending on how the bracket would have shaken out, Jake could have been in the finals and then not you. That would be then we would be talking about just make the semifinals, man.
No, it's fair to say. Like I'll say it now, and I can admit it now that we're beyond it. Jake, you got fucked. And I was more than happy to watch the fuckery go down.
I got fucked
meant
too.
I could slide. No, I think you were aptly fucked.
No, I was fucked. I got fucked.
I think gassed is the word.
I was both. I was gassed, but I also got fucked.
Yeah, somebody warmed me up too much in the lead up to it.
Yeah, good. Jay, it wasn't you taking fucking BP for 9 hours prior to the first pitch of the Dinger Derby.
I wasn't even. I like blacked out for that whole thing. I don't even remember the warm up. Yeah.
Jayhay's 9-hour BP session went so poorly that he decided to take himself out to the outfield and throw balls to himself for the next hour until it started. That's all right.
That was the best I did all day. Was throwing them to myself. Yeah.
It was the Casas visualization method.
Yep. Worked about as well for me. Yep.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
No, I know he's back over the last 24 hours. I know he had a couple hits last night. He's back.
Yeah, home run on
He's
Tuesday.
back.
Hit a home run on Tuesday. Underdog Fantasy was the place to be for the Dinger Derby because we had higher or lower for home run totals. Tyler Milliken lower on 0.5 home runs. That was a hit.
I just remember
Milky just couldn't muster fucking Dinger.
a lot of talk about how disrespectful that line was. Actually, it was the most accurate thing we did all trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was tough. But Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats, strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and so much more. Make entries of all baseball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. I will be in Kansas City this weekend representing Underdog Fantasy as a hot dog in the hot dog race. You just laughed, Dallas?
I'm gonna go to Kansas City and be a wiener. You should check that out.
Check it out.
Are you gonna? Can we get a cam, like a fucking personal cam of you, a POV?
Yeah.
I'm a big POV guy.
Mike Eamon is coming with us. Yeah, POV is great.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Eamon's coming. So we'll have plenty of footage of that.
Yeah, I want
you
like
think
inside.
it's not gonna go well? Is that why you want the footage? I mean, obviously,
No,
if you
no,
thought
no,
I was gonna
no,
do something well, you wouldn't want footage of that.
No, I would. Come on, I am the curator of the footage that got Alex Bregman's swing back on track. You being a part of that, I mean, I'm here to always
I
make sure that we document. Well, I don't think I have video of that. So what I was getting at is I want to see through the eyeballs. I want like strap a GoPro to the forehead, and I want to see out the eyeballs. Like I want to see your. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I want.
know what you mean. Yeah. Gonna be a big ween out in Kansas City. They need me. I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but is this the worst wild card team of all time? I feel like they're always losing. They lose every day. And somehow they're like 10 games over 500. They're just comfortably in a wild card spot. Make sure you sign up with the promo code JRod. That's JARED to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code JRod. I said something stupid this week, which was that I thought, well, I say stupid stuff all the time, but like this one was really stupid. I said that the National League wild card was like the only interesting race. The American League wild card is from out of nowhere, really. I mean, as a Red Sox fan, for a while it was like, yeah, the Red Sox are 4 games back. There's no one ahead of us, but we're certainly not going to get it. So from my perspective, yeah, the American League wild card race was very boring because I didn't believe the Red Sox were going to get in. And every other team was behind us. Well, now the Detroit Tigers are now a half game back of the Twins after winning 4 straight games. They swept the Royals, who have lost 4 straight games. The Twins lost again. They've lost 6 out of 10. I mean, like, I guess I'm going to phrase it to you guys this way. We'll do a broader, because Tigers fans like, why are you talking about the Tigers? Like, obviously, we're going to talk about the fucking Tigers. Chill out. But is the American League Central, if they were to get, like, if it were to last and hold up what it is right now, the Guardians win the division, the Royals and Twins win the wild card. Is this the worst division ever to get 3 teams in the playoffs? It's got to be, right?
Just as far as overall records are concerned, yeah.
Just like overall performance, like the fact that the Royals had a 7 or 8 game losing streak down the stretch. They're on another 4 game losing streak right now. The Twins, I mean, they've been begging teams to pass them. Like,
Jared,
it's the only reason why they're still in is because everyone else has been just as bad, if not worse. But then the Tigers were like, all right, fine, fuck it. Like, if you guys are just going to hand us a wild card spot, we'll take it. But like, Jesus.
Well, here's the question is, because as far as overall production goes throughout divisions, the AL West has been the least productive, I would say. The AL Central has 4 out of 5 teams with a positive run differential, but not one of them has a plus 100 or more run differential. I don't know how much the White Sox being in that division has to do with that, but I mean, because I can remember saying this about this division earlier in the season, that as far as like where their grouping is, that they were the most competitive division, not because they were the best teams in that division, just maybe the overall level of suck and non-competitive. Like maybe that was what was bringing them together. But I mean, when you look at it, that's the Guardians plus 80, Royals plus 98, and the Twins and the Tigers plus 35 and 40 respectively. And then the Chicago White Sox at minus 313.
Well, but I think the answer is yes, though, right? But it's also because of the way that the postseason is structured now, right? Like you get 6 teams are making it from each league, right? And so the opportunity for something like this to happen where you have 3 teams from the same division making it, where you feel like maybe in the previous format or in a typical year, maybe just the Guardians would have made it, or whoever goes on to win the division, or maybe the top 2 teams would have made it, but rarely 3. I do suspect that we may see more of this type of stuff moving forward in the new setup. And I also wonder, I don't have facts to back this up, I also wonder how the flattened schedule, the evened out schedule plays into this too, because, you know, in previous years where you were playing a disproportionate number of games against your own division, say, or something like that, I wonder if that reduced the odds of 3 teams getting in, because you would have to kind of beat up on one team, or one team's chances would end up being depressed given that stacked schedule. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that part, but I do think the postseason structure overall is playing a factor here.
And that's why I brought the White Sox up, because they're still that team in that division that's just getting absolutely bent over the barrel. So you're not going to get that extra series that you typically would have with them, but them being as bad as they have been has still allowed everybody else in that division to eat when the White Sox roll into town, or when they roll into the South Side. So like overall, I get what you guys are saying. It just, like, looking at the run differential, that's why I said the AL West was like the least productive in terms of totality, that all the teams, but it's just crazy that we're going to see all these teams, like, because how many of these wild card teams right now are going to, I mean, will the Orioles win 90 games?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's going to be real close.
Yeah, it's going to be very close. And if the Orioles are very close, the Royals are coming off a 4-game skid, and the Minnesota Twins at 80 right now with 10 left to play. I don't know that they're running the table from here on out.
Look at how everyone's playing right now. Like, outside of the Detroit Tigers, this is the last 10 games for all these teams that are either in a wild card spot or hoping for one. The Orioles 2-10, the Royals 4-6, the Twins 4-6, the Mariners 5-5, the Red Sox 4-6. Like, no one is playing good baseball right now besides the Tigers.
I do think I'm gonna defend the moniker of the Central being the worst division to get 3 in to some extent, even though I kind of just agreed a second ago. I think it's as much a function of what we've talked about throughout the course of the season, which is that there's just a lot of mediocrity / good but not great teams. And some of them are 4 of them happen to be located in the AL Central. Yeah. If you were to put the Baltimore Orioles or the Seattle Mariners in the Central and sub out one of these other teams, we'd still be making the same claim, which is that the AL Central is the worst division to get 3 teams in. But it's not because those teams are so bad relative to the rest of the AL. It's that typically 3 teams with win percentages in the 520 to 540 range don't make it in. So that's really what's happening here. If it's the Mariners that get in, they're mediocre too. You know what I mean? The Orioles are playing, they have, as we outlined on the last podcast, have been playing mediocre baseball for months now. And this version of the team, not what was April and May, this version of the team may be kind of a mediocre team. That's a possibility. Or a good team, but not a great team, however you want to phrase it. But the Tigers specifically, to me, like, we should talk about them. And to Jared's point, we were always going to. But I also, like, to me, this isn't one of those cases where it's like, well, how the hell didn't you see this coming? Why weren't the Tigers given proper respect in due time? It's like, hold on. Like, at the trade deadline in late July, they themselves traded Jack Flaherty. That happened, right? If they really truly knew what was going to happen to this team, their own front office Jack Flaherty probably wouldn't be traded because he would be a big piece to push them to the playoffs and would be their number 2 in a postseason series. That whatever the degree of the rumors were, there was enough smoke around the Tarek Skubal trade offers or trade conversation to suggest that it was a conversation the front office at least had or entertained from external places. They didn't trade him, to their credit, and he's now a big part of what's happening here. But like, this is pretty quick developing, and with a few exceptions, a lot of these players that we have been waiting to get better really didn't do any of that until like the last month and a half or 2 months of the season. Riley Green being a huge exception to that. He's been great all season. But like, Colt Keith, Spencer Torkelson came. Parker Meadows, Spencer Torkelson went from unplayable before his demotion to something much more palatable than that. I just think there's been a lot happening here, and it's happened very quickly. And the low bar of entry in the AL to get in the postseason, mixed with what we just talked about, I think has put them in the situation that they are. But you have to acknowledge, whether you're a Tigers fan or not, that it is surprising. It very surprising. I don't know, but it is surprising.
This is, and again, I'm speaking from a perspective of experience, not only as a player, having experienced a group that we just got better together. I've watched this unfold, and I think if you think about it unfolding in this way, and this is what's really cool about this moment in time, Jayhay, in the season, is when you start getting to postseason baseball, or you're knocking on the door of postseason baseball, what you start to watch is the approach at the plate, the approach on the mound starts to shift from the May, June, more individual prioritization to what do I need to do right now to win this at bat, to win this inning so that it helps us win this game. And when you take a young group of players who are skill set wise getting better together and polishing up on that front, now you put them in an environment where executing these things really does matter. You have a real-time sort of feedback on how that's panning out. Now you got these boys ready to rock. They are rolling up their sleeves, ready to do anything and everything they can right now to get into October. And the fact that they have watched each other side by side do the work to get to this point, for them, it's not a fluke. Why are we winning baseball games right now? Because we have put the work in, and this is when this shit starts to pay off. This is when it starts to pay off. The dog days are the time of the year where you start to separate the guys who aren't ready to go to work. That's where we go to work. When shit hurts and shit doesn't feel right, and you're looking for a reason why it's not going well, instead of doing that, can we find reasons to get better? The Tigers have answered that.
So I don't know that I've run into the Tiger fan that's like, why didn't you believe in us? Why didn't you see this coming? But if that person exists, just to set the record straight on all this, less than a month ago, August 22nd, the Detroit Tigers dropped 2 out of 3 to the Chicago Cubs to fall to 4 games under 500. They were 62-66 entering play on August 23rd. And then guess what happened, Dallas? They had a 4-game series against a team. Who was that team? What was the team that put the Tigers on the fucking fast track to getting into the playoff picture?
I don't really want to discuss that.
No, not the Oakland A's.
Oh, okay, all right.
The Chicago White Sox. They played 4 games. They were 4 games under 500. Then they had a 4-game series against the Chicago White Sox. Obviously swept them. And that's like, and I'm sure Jake knows what I'm talking about here. Like, that's the hope with, like, as a Red Sox fan, it's like, oh man, we get the White Sox coming up. Like, that's where we sweep them. And then hopefully we carry that momentum. Well, guess what? That happened to the Detroit Tigers. 4 games under 500. Just lost a series to the Cubs. 4-game series against the White Sox. You sweep them. And then from there, best record in baseball. 18-7. They have the best record in baseball since that point. And even though it's not the largest sample, we're talking 25 games here. In that 25-game sample, they went from 4 games under 500 to a half game out of a wild card spot. That's all it takes. I mean, listen, as a baseball fan, we can all sit here and say, and we're smart fans are listening, and I would like to think that there's smart baseball people on this podcast. If your favorite team is closing in a week away from the month of September and you have a losing record, you kind of just, and you've already sold at the deadline, you traded Jack Flaherty, that's your number 2 starter. You've sold at the deadline. You have a losing record 1 week away from September. Who the fuck is sitting there being like, well, if we just get hot right now, like no one's saying that.
A couple of things there. The Major League Baseball has designed this very thing to be able to happen, which is that a team can sell or not buy. We identified this months ago, not with the Tigers, but just in general. A team can sell / not buy and still find themselves in the thick of the postseason hunt. If that's good or bad, the listeners can decide. But I think the other thing that's going on, JRod, you outlined since August, the series against the White Sox. I think part of the reason why this surge has been a little bit difficult for a non-Tigers fan to latch onto or whatever is because a huge, huge part of this is the bullpen. And that is obviously the least recognizable place for a non-Tigers fan to latch onto. I picked since August 11th. It doesn't really matter. They have the best record in baseball over that stretch too. But I'm just going to read you in order of appearances for their relief pitchers and the ERA. Jason Foley, 1.15. Tyler Holton, 0.44. Will Vest, 2.51. Brennan Hanafy, 1.96. Shelby Miller, old friend, 1.29. Sean Gunther, 0.64. The list goes on. Every single relief pitcher who is throwing any modicum of quantity for this team over the last month and a half has not been good. They haven't been great. They have basically been unhittable.
Dominant.
Yeah. And I'm not going to pretend that I know whether Brennan Hanafy is going to be able to continue his dominance that he's shown over the last 18 1/3 innings pitched. But I do know that goes a long way towards solving some of the post-Skubal rotation issues that this team might face if they were to make the postseason. Because if this is the sort of bullpen that they have, I mean, this is Cleveland's formula too. It's like, I don't give a shit who's starting the game. Let's get to our big 4 in the bullpen. Like, if that's what the Tigers formula is,
well, where does their
maybe there's a path there?
Their bullpen's top 5 in baseball right now.
Yes, but
right.
But nobody was saying that through the first 3 or 4 months of the season, right? It was a lot of that work has been. Well, it doesn't matter to me, but like it's been juiced by the last month and a half or 2 months of like unbelievably awesome pitching by the bullpen. The rotation has also been good. It's the number 5 rotation in baseball over the last 6 weeks, but the bullpen is number 1 and over that stretch, and it's a 2.05 ERA. And we are talking 6 weeks of baseball. It's not 4 games. It's not 9 games. But if there's stickiness to that, I think the Tigers become a much more interesting, not World Series contender, but if they were to get into the postseason, a much more interesting out.
Well, what it becomes is this is the time, like I was just talking about heading into the postseason. The postseason could very well be the stage where a couple guys for the Tigers out of that bullpen reveal themselves. There's nothing that says that can't happen either. That's when legends are made, is it not? This is when stars are born, is it not? So why the fuck not?
Guess who the Detroit Tigers finish out their season against?
The White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Yep. Their next series is against the Orioles, who are struggling mightily. That second series is against the Rays. And then they finish out their 2024 schedule against the Chicago White Sox at home.
I mean, there's really nobody in hunt for a playoff spot in a better spot right now than the Tigers.
The Twins' schedule isn't super hard. I mean, they have the Red Sox, we suck. They have the Marlins, they suck. And then they also have the Orioles.
I just mean by the way they're playing right now and then how they will finish. Because what I always talk about, give me 4 games with my team within a series worth. Just give me that. Give me that. And it feels like that's Where
The Red Sox are 76-76 with a 0-run differential. Like, we were just kind of there. We were there. 2024, we were there.
Dude, there was that hot moment leading up to the trade deadline where it felt like something might be happening.
Well, they were 11 games over going into the break.
There was interest.
No, they were good. They were 11 games over.
Was it really as high as 11 games over?
Yep.
And they're now exactly 500?
With a 0-run differential.
That's tough to do.
I guess it's easier for me because I kind of checked out on the Red Sox.
Same.
Yeah. Just kind of the last month just kind of went like that.
Yeah. Can't blame me.
Hate to see it. That's tough.
Fuck you, Dallas. You guys suck. Shout out to the Tigers, though. It is it's a hell of a story. You know what I was thinking about when we were talking about Scooble and hanging on to him is no one ever cares or has sympathy for someone like this, but let's just say hypothetically Scooble had gotten traded to the Dodgers. Now he could like win the Triple Crown and not really win the Cy Young Award. Like if you're in both leagues, like he's not going to win the American League Cy Young Award because he's not there anymore, and he's not going to win the NL one because he wasn't there long enough. Like that just totally fucks him, and like that could mean tens of millions of dollars. Like that's a difference of a lot of money, right, Dallas? Like if you go into free agency as a Cy Young Award winner versus not. Although, I mean, look at Blake Snell. I guess it doesn't always help you, but it doesn't hurt to have one. That's for sure.
No, does not hurt to have one. And it's funny that you bring that up, Jared, because I've always thought that, I guess when I was younger, I felt like the accolade would carry a lot more weight
as
than
just one.
Than I think it truly does these days. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Manny Ramirez I was in 2008 when he got traded to the Dodgers. Like he would have won. He almost won the National League MVP. He was only there for 2 months. Like he hit like fucking 400 with like a 1500 OPS.
Fucking like, Manny would.
Yeah. If you put together all of his numbers from 2008, like that's an MVP season for sure. But switch leagues, shit happens. The Mariners did a dumb last night. Well, first of all, the Yankees and the Brewers clinched playoff spots. But JRod with a dumb play last night. It happens.
Well, it's
Randy Arozarena at the plate, swings, throws the bat. JRod tries to get out of the way of the bat, forgets that like, hey, like we're still playing baseball here. And the Yankees just threw him out at third base. I feel like, because baseball has a lot of weird rules, right? Like it's almost like when you look at the baseball rules that they thought of everything. Like that weird play that happened, I think it was Justin Turner, where he slid into second base, his helmet came off.
Yeah.
And then the second baseman tagged the helmet, but it was stuck to his body. But then they looked up the rule and they were like, yes, the equipment is part of your body, but it has to be on the intended part of your body. So if I tag your helmet, then you're out if it's on your head. But if your helmet is on your shoulder, then you didn't tag me. So it's like they thought of all these weird scenarios in the rule book. Shouldn't there be a rule that if a fucking flying bat is the reason why I came off the bag, that I should be able to get back to the bag without being tagged out? Like I was getting out of the way of a projectile.
Well, technically, he didn't get off the bag because of the bat coming at him. He was already off the bag. He rerouted because the bat was flying at him. But it says in the rule that don't matter. Get your ass back to the bag, which is why Manny Acta was yelling at him. Get back to third. Get back to third. Like I don't know. That cannot happen. That just simply cannot happen.
No.
Like
the
you
call
can't.
was
Like
very funny though.
Like in that moment, it just felt like because what it does is it makes you feel like you're not. It made me feel anyway. I was like, is he not locked in right now?
I don't know. I feel like you just like your life flashes before your eyes and you're not necessarily thinking about getting back to the bag. Here's the call.
Mariners 2-2. So look out, the bat almost hit Julio. And Julio's got to get back to the bag. Oh my goodness. Oh
Oh, no! Yeah. That sucks. That sucks. I mean, you know, you're thinking that your life is about to flash before my eyes and you're just trying to get out of the way. And now you're out.
Tough break, man. Tough break. Not much you can do in that spot. You're trying to avoid it, but I don't think, I mean, my issue is if you watch the replay, he takes like 3 steps after he's clearly out of the way. And it's just sort of like let me just jog this off and round off the move here. And then I'll get back to the bag, you know, in time. Like there was no sense of urgency. None. Not until he realized, oh, Manny's yelling at me. I got to get back.
Yeah.
You know what I would recommend to Julio Rodriguez in this time of need?
What would you do?
Using the promo code JRod
Yeah.
to sign up.
Get him back.
To sign up on Underdog, receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick. That's Underdog, promo code JRod. JRod, I got a question for you.
What is it?
There's been some rumors that you have an alter ego.
Mm-hmm.
And that man's name is Jerry Primetime.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I believe I saw a clip making the rounds of Jerry Primetime.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me as we're recording here on Thursday,
Sure.
Dallas, obviously, I'd love to get your opinions after we hear from Mr. Primetime himself.
Mm-hmm.
It's Pat's Jets
Ooh,
on
yes.
Thursday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Great time to get the Underdog app going, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, from your perspective as kind of a hardcore NFL
Football
fan and Patriots fan specifically, what's your read on Pat's Jets tonight?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Jacoby Brissett is going to be getting the snaps, and he, you know, we're coming off a disappointing loss last week where we thought we were going to win the game, goes to overtime, we lose, and in the JRod Mayo era, we don't fucking lose 2 in a row. Like it's never happened.
That's a good point.
Like you think about it and it's like, how many times have the Patriots lost 2 games in a row under JRod Mayo? And the answer is 0 times. So yeah, we're just going to be looking to complete passes and limit the turnovers. If we limit the turnovers, then, and if we also keep the run game under control, then we'll be able to beat the Jets. Is Aaron Rodgers playing?
He is. The one thing you didn't mention is the battle in the trenches, which I do think, and win the time of possession game.
Oh yeah,
especially now in this new era of the NFL where they aren't passing as often.
Exactly.
You know, you got to win the time of possession, ground and pound. But you know, when you look at the wide receiver core of Osborne, Polk, and Douglas, do they remind you of Randy Moss?
That's 2 guys.
That's 3 guys.
Okay.
That's 3 guys.
Yeah.
Is that Randy Moss? Is that Wes Welker?
Right.
Like, who does that kind of conjure
Amendola
up in your head? Yeah. Of Patriots greats.
Like, it's like a kind of like a, reminds me of.
We're just leaving Wes Welker out of that?
Like a Richard Seymour.
Oh.
Like an Asante Samuel. Like a clock killing Corey Dillon, you know, just give him the ball, let him go, you know, that type of shit. You know, who is the other fucking guy that I loved?
I do love that you took a question about wide receivers and then proceeded to name a defensive tackle, and a cornerback, and a running back.
Well, we're just talking about guys that got that dog in them.
No, that's true. And that's really what's more important. It's not what position do you play, it's do you have that dog?
Dion, what the fuck was his last name? Brown?
Nope. You have the right first letter.
Dion.
Actually, the right first 2 letters.
I'm talking about the guy that won the Dion Branch. Dion Branch. Yep.
There you go.
I fucking love Dion Branch.
Yeah, Jerry Primetime.
Yeah,
Dion Branch.
They remind me of Dion Branch. Get up there, win Super Bowl MVP. You know, guys like that. And that's just what they need to play like those guys. And if they do, then this game's easy. What's the Jets record right now?
Jets record is
1-1.
Stout 1-1.
Who do they beat though? Probably some schmuck team.
Well, I mean, it depends on, Tennessee. They probably fall on their schmuck team.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
So
took a loss to the Niners in the opener.
Garoppolo, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes. The other Jimmy Garoppolo, aka Brock Purdy. Yeah.
I thought you said Garofalo.
He did.
He did.
It's Janine Garoppolo.
Janine Garoppolo.
Great comedian.
Yeah, she's
yeah. I think you could argue Janine Garoppolo was better at her profession than Jimmy Garoppolo was at his. But nevertheless, both people, deserve a shout out. I'm glad
you're talking about adult film star Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Pay the bills, man. Got to pay the bills. Dallas, you got any reactions to Jerry Primetime's breakdown?
I couldn't agree more with everything. I can't even entertain that.
Truly. Underdog promo code JRod.
Promo code JRod.
JRED.
Yep. Let's get those tackles, boys. Yankee. Actually, you know what? Did you see that Juan Soto quote after he homered in all 30 ballparks?
I didn't actually. What did he say?
Let me try and pull that up. It was interesting.
Wait for them to build another one. How about that? You're 25 years old.
And?
You've jumped ship in every big league ballpark.
Is this the quote? He while I look for it, he basically was like, yeah, I can't wait to make a lot of money somewhere other than here. Let's see. 30 ballparks. 30 ballparks. Where the fuck is this quote? I don't know, but that's basically what he said. He basically said, that's great to take into free agent. Maybe this is it.
It means a lot, I mean, to get to another goal in my career, it's just great. It's just great feeling, all the work that I've been putting on and get the results is really cool.
Juan, you talked in spring training about wanting to homer in every ballpark. Why was that important to you?
I feel that's, it's a great feeling for me. I think, it's so many different ballparks, so many different dimensions. I just want to get all of them checked in, What a best way to go to free agency with all 30 homers, all 30 ballparks.
Oh, okay. All right. Best way to go into free agency. He said, that's the best way to go into free agency. Can't wait to make a shit ton of money this offseason. Also said, can't wait to play with Shohei Ohtani. And people forget that he said that. We just casually moved right past that quote. Would love to play with Shohei Ohtani, he said.
Yeah, that would have caught some ears, huh?
Yeah.
He probably
surprised that has
probably told him, hey, you know what you should say? Go say you want to play with Shohei. Just get the Dodgers in the ether.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't you want to? If I was Juan Soto and I saw what the Dodgers had going on, and I knew realistically that there are 4 or 5 teams max that will even touch the figure that I want in free agency this offseason, and they are one of them who could potentially do that, you have to engage them. However you're going to go about. What, you disagree?
Oh no! What I'm going to say is, I think we're at the point now where, because of the money that's getting thrown around, where with the Dodgers being who they are in these conversations year in and year out, acquiring the top tier free agent, acquiring top tier talent, is there any thought to the Dodgers maybe getting themselves into a position organizationally where it's not a hometown discount, but it's a legacy type discount? Meaning, I know what I could get over here, and it might be 50 mil more. Might be another year or two. Might be another 100. I don't know. I don't know what that number is where they're willing to walk away from it and say, that sounds great. But if I go here, what I could have is this. I could sign up to be a part of a Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani lineup where I could be the 4th guy representing almost half of a lineup full of MVP caliber talent. And they have proven that they will supplement that around. So if I go there and they're doing that, do I like my chances of getting to where I want to be and leaving the legacy in this game that I want to leave? Because it doesn't, like, if the World Series and the championships are about the legacy, where that happens, I don't think means as much as it just happening. So if he becomes the world champion 2-3 times over in LA, I don't think that feels any different than it does in New York at the end of it if he has everything that he wanted.
But I do think you've identified the two franchises where that is true.
Yes.
I think the Dodgers have positioned themselves in that sort of way, but I think it's like relative to, like, I don't remember the exact details around his free agency, but I think I immediately thought of Robinson Cano, where he went from the marquee franchise, right,
to the Mariners.
Maybe didn't want to give him the money he wanted, to the Mariners, and for various reasons, he was more or less never heard from again on a national stage. Like, he had some seasons in Seattle, but nothing really on the level of what we were used to seeing, at least in terms of attention paid to it, and maybe not wins above replacement or something like that.
Can I say something there?
Yeah.
Is there any thought to the Mariners not supplementing with Robinson Cano there?
Yeah. I'm not blaming Robinson Cano. I'm just saying I'm just saying he for a decent chunk of that contract, he did his part.
He was all right.
My point is that, like, if Juan Soto is faced with a situation of the Dodgers or the Yankees are offering me this amount of money with real championship equity to go along with it versus whatever, we could say the Mariners again, but just throw out a team. Maybe it's the Giants. Who are saying, we'll offer you $25 or $50 million more over the course of the contract. I could see those teams having been put themselves in a position where it's like, you know what? Actually, I rather would have real championship equity and surround myself with a support system of players than I would to max out my earnings 100% and be on an island or irrelevancy.
And I believe that Shohei Ohtani's arrival has taught the Dodgers on another level how to view potential free agent players and really how to leverage every bit of their marketability. And I know this is going down a different path outside of on-field production, but when we start talking about the Dodgers being willing to pay top-tier talent, it's for a reason. There's a reason that we all, at this point in time right now, and maybe this is a hot take, I don't know. The Dodgers will have underpaid Shohei Ohtani by the time it's all said and done. And that is strictly based on the revenue that they've been able to generate purely outside of what he's done, simply because he's on their team, right? They have multiple deals with multiple airlines to fly people to come and watch this fucking guy play baseball. All right? Now, I'm not telling you that Juan Soto is going to garner that same relationship between an airline in the Dominican, but that's something to think about. That's something to consider because nobody else is, and the Dodgers are playing in a sandbox that nobody else is even aware of. They don't even know that that playground exists.
There was a hit piece on the White Sox, Jayhay. Looks like the New York Times came for the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, it was through The Athletic. I know it says the New York Times. It's Giroli and Rosenthal. Yeah, so it's I don't. So it's interesting from my perspective in the, like, I'm willing to consume as much like hate reading or like, car crash reading about the White Sox as exists with fresh reporting or whatever. I don't think the gist of the article is necessarily surprising because what it boils down to is something that I think we talked about, and anybody who lives or watches or follows the White Sox knows and has known for a long time, which is that this is a Jerry Reinsdorf problem. And you can say the team wasn't put together properly. You can say the young core that was supposed to lead to greatness didn't develop properly. You can say La Russa was a terrible hire. You can say Pedro Grifol was a terrible hire. All of those things, all of that can be true, but it boils down to that their owner is running an incompetent organization, a retrograde organization, and one that is not in the medium term prepared to be successful in the modern scheme of Major League Baseball. So every Chicago fan that I know, and I have lots of very close friends who live there or who are fans, they've known this has been going on with the Chicago Bulls for a long time. And Reinsdorf is obviously the owner there as well. And it goes without saying, but that's the hardest thing to fix is when your ownership is malicious, incompetent, or maliciously incompetent. And I think that's what we have going on here. And, you know, it sucks to say like, wait until someone dies because I'm not actually rooting for somebody's death. But it's hard to see what the path forward for the White Sox is with the Reinsdorf family and specifically Jerry Reinsdorf and the philosophy that he uses running it.
I'm going to tell you this right now. I just spent a week in Chicago. First part on the south side, last part on the north side. There was one prevailing conversation and one prevailing sentiment. And it was, and this is from people in the organization, and this is from people maybe on the peripheral of the organization. The sentiment was, until that changes, nothing changes. And there is a shred of light that the decision about the managerial position could potentially signal a shift in approach. They're not terribly excited about the prospects of that because there's some folks who are like, I don't care. Sign Grady Sizemore up for the next 10 years because you know what that means is it's somebody who's not coming from within the organization. And they said, I don't care if we lose for the next 10 years, but if we're losing and it's with somebody else who wasn't just appointed or wasn't born into the position, then we're okay with that. And ultimately they were not okay with a decade more of losing. But the take-home message was, until how things are operating right now and how the decisions are made with people in power changes, then nothing changes. So they think, or they hope anyway, that this decision could very well begin the slow crawl, the slow cascading effect of change.
The opening anecdote was, and I know this is something that Dallas probably doesn't need described to him, but like the description of their plane, the White Sox plane that they used to fly versus what players who arrive on the White Sox and see the new situation are used to is, it's like there was a quote that says, "This is the big leagues." That was one player texting another when he finally got to leave Chicago. When he got to leave Chicago, he got to be in the real big leagues. That's crazy. And I know Chicago is first and foremost the Cubs. It probably always will be that way. But that, again, that doesn't mean that your second team has to be a poverty franchise that is doing embarrassing things from an infrastructure standpoint. Like that a 90-year-old man let analytics come and go, let modern baseball infrastructure come and go without reacting to it and maybe being stubbornly in refusal of it isn't necessarily surprising for me. Like lots of people who were successful in the primes of their careers get stubborn and want to keep doing that as they get older and age out of relevance. But like, you know what a proper plane looks like because you see the other team's planes, right? So that you're forcing your team to travel in a plane that, according to this article, was first debuted in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm. I would balk at that, Jayhay. I would balk at the notion that owner X has a feel. I would balk at the notion that owner X really has any idea of the day-to-day operations that his team or her team goes through. And I say that because we, the Oakland Athletics, fly the Dallas Mavericks plane. We fly Mark Cuban's plane. Like, I'm sitting in seats where the overhead bin is 30 fucking feet up there. Mm-hmm. Why? because they're 30 feet fucking tall. It's just a completely different world that you're in, right? So if the Oakland A's are in that spot and we're taking the arrows we're taking right now for obvious reasons, that's what I mean by like, if the folks that you have in place know how to operate and know how to get things done, because I'm going to tell you right now, Mickey Morabito should be in the Hall of Fame right the fuck now. Traveling secretary, a wizard. There's not words to describe what this man does and has done since his time in baseball. This is the dude who came over from the Yankees, okay? From the Yankees with Billy Martin in the late 70s. Billy went back to New York. Mickey didn't. Mickey stayed. And you want to know what stayed? Was doing shit the right way. Taking care of his guys the right way. That's why Mickey Morabito, in my opinion, you will see a groundswell of support to get this dude, make him present in the light of baseball. But I go on that tangent just to say, I do think that there's a layer of removal from the powers that be and just understanding that this is what these guys are going through today. This is what they do. This is how they do it.
No one clicked on this podcast thinking we were going to get Mickey Morabito talk today, but we got it. We got there.
That's
we
right. That's why
landed
it's the
plane.
best pod in the biz.
Oh yeah. Like you want to talk baseball podcast. This is the one.
Sorry. I know we're doing more on the White Sox now than we probably intended, but like the other part that stuck out, and then we can move on if we
The
want.
Benetti thing?
Well, that's stuck with me all year because I
hey.
listened to him call the Tigers games, and I'm like, how embarrassing is this for not him, for the Whites? What?
No, that was the other thing. And this has nothing to do with whomever is in place now. This has everything to do with just who JB is as a dude and as a professional. Every A1, A2, producer, direct, everybody that I talked to was like, so if you talked to JB, God, we miss that dude. How's JB doing? How's Jason doing? We just had him in town. Man, we miss that dude. Man. And it just like, and if you know him, you can understand why they feel that way about him, because he's the fucking best. He's just an incredible dude, incredible worker, incredible analyst. And that's just another aspect of like, you let him go? Why? Why? Like he could have, oh man. Like very rarely are like oversights like that worth getting on a soapbox about, but that is one that is worth getting on a soapbox about.
And that's a Jerry Reinsdorf call.
Talk about a guy who can bring the fan base, whether it's a fan base that has dwindled or non-existent, and trying to bring them back to relevance, whether it's trying to reach out and build a new fan. I don't know. But I don't know how you look at JB and are like, no, we're good here.
It's crazy.
Grew up a White Sox fan. It was his dream job. They told him to fucking take a hike and downgraded. No offense to the other guy. I think we're all on the same page that Benetti's at or near the top of the game. I mean, I would just encourage people to go read this. There's just so much stuff here. I had forgotten that they were on the verge of hiring AJ Hinch when Reinsdorf swooped in and hired La Russa basically by himself, and that Hinch had packed for interviews for both Detroit and Chicago, and that the image the White Sox sent out announcing La Russa's hire featured AJ Hinch's signature on it. I had forgotten that. Like every possible way you could embarrass yourself, this team has found a way to do so. But just finally, the analytics stuff was fascinating to me because, you know, a lot of times you hear these broad comments where it's like, this team fell behind in analytics. This team didn't invest in analytics. They thought it was the boogeyman or whatever. And that's fine. But like, as important as recognizing that you're behind the ball on that is figuring out how you're going to implement it. And it was another sign for me about how half-assed and behind the times and just totally disorganized this organization was, because throughout this story, there are references to, okay, we're going to do analytics, but we're just hiring this outside firm. Okay, well, that's cool if you have nothing, right? But as they say in the article, the whole point is to gain an edge over your team and to customize stuff to your players. Can't get that from a third party. They then went in and mentioned that at a different time, there were two streams of information coming in, one internally, one externally, and those were often in conflict with each other, as you would anticipate that they would be. And that leaves the organization, the players being like, well, what am I listening to? How is this even supposed to be implemented? It leaves the coaches saying, how am I supposed to coach this? How is this supposed to be implemented? And then you realize it's like, if that's how you're going to implement analytics, shit, man, you may as well have been better off not doing it, because that really does confuse the situation. And it's like, not in a sport of 30 teams, some teams are going to be ahead and some teams are going to be behind. But it was really eye-opening to me to get a run through of the response to being behind was as alarming as the fact that they were behind in the first place. And none of that seems like it's changing with the Chris Getz hiring and all of that sort of stuff, where it's like, there was a quote about how Jerry Reinsdorf is loyal to a fault, which certainly is a nice quality in business that lots of companies don't have. But that same person said, there are lots of people working for the White Sox that have absolutely no business being in Major League Baseball. And not because they're bad dudes or women, but because they may have been on the fringes of being proper employees 30 years ago. And the game has changed a lot then. It's an unbelievable article. A lot of it's rehashed, but it's so chaotic and ridiculous that to me, it was worth reading and rehashing all over again.
The White Sox are an example of what would have happened if a basketball team was around when they created the 3-point line and brought that into the game for the first time, and Steph Curry was available, and you're like, you know what? I think we're out on that. That's not really what we're into. I'd like to find a Steph Curry type to drive the lane. I want him to penetrate. And it's like, I think you are completely missing the point here. This player is going to change things. The rules allow this player to help you change things. You should pay attention not only to players who do these things, but you should pay attention to the rules too. You should pay attention to how these players are going to impact the game. And it's all just, it's not there.
It's also a shame for the players too, because it's quite clear that there is no infrastructure for players to get better or to improve or identify weaknesses or anything like that. So we'll never know whether Eloy Jimenez and Yohan Moncada and those guys didn't develop properly because they didn't put in the work, or they were never going to be as good as we thought they were, or whether it was because they were in an organization that gave them basically no tools or no direction to do so. And maybe even no training or no physical health care to lessen those problems as well. It's like, if everything is pushing against you, maybe the guys who developed are the outliers and not, and we shouldn't be necessarily so critical of the fact that era never developed like it was, at least critical from the players' side.
I don't think there's any coincidence, Jayhay, that the growth of organizations and the growth of the infrastructure of these organizations, you can identify teams that place value on things outside of just on-field productivity, meaning how do we get these guys better? Maybe it's mental health care. Maybe it's dietary supplementation that we provide and information we provide for them. Whatever it is, it's not just here's your locker, here's your coach, you got fungos at 2:30. It's a completely different setup, but that's kind of how it is in Chicago. Team bus at 1, early work at 3:30, games at 6:40.
This other line here that stood out to me was, I'm not sure if any owner loves baseball as much as Jerry, said another former employee. That's why he can't get out of his own way. If you love baseball more than any other owner, how have you not had this moment of clarity of like, holy shit, like we have to do things like, it's not just a bad season. It is the worst season of all time in a stretch of bad seasons. How have you not had the moment of clarity where you're just like, we need to completely overhaul this entire operation so that we have a winning baseball team again. If you love baseball that much, why would you do this to the franchise that you own?
I think it just goes back to Jayhay's point about being so far down the river in terms of he wouldn't know where to start, in my opinion. And so what
he's
that
90
means,
years old and he's surrounded by people who don't belong in Major League Baseball per that article. I don't know, but that sounds right.
Everybody, man, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, like, if I spoke to, and I'm going to try to put a number on it. If I spoke to 12 different people, which is probably very close to the, I'm not joking you when I tell you that every single person's response was not until shit changes at the top. That was just how the conversation started. And then they trailed off into their opinions and the rants. And then it ended with, but I say all that to say, like, until something changes, nothing changes. And so that's when we start to get into, okay, from an owner perspective, what would allow you to be okay with the move? And it's, I think, relinquishing power to a level of comfort that still allows you to feel like you're involved or have some control over the situation, which is tough because, again, at 90 years old, and this isn't calling anybody's faculties into question, I'm just saying at 90 years old, are you as adept and in the know of what's going on as you are when you were, say, 56, ready to roll up the sleeves and kick everybody's ass when you were doing this? There's probably a difference at this point. And if you are surrounded constantly by people who know that it's okay to show up, punch the clock because of the relationship they have, and there's no desire to be better individually, organizationally, or in the future, then you are going to be stuck in the mud like they are on the South Side.
Sad times in Chicago. Quick little 50-50 update. Shohei stole his 49th bag last night, so he's at 48 home runs, 49 stolen bases. And then Dallas, I know that you had to get out of here yesterday to catch the team bus, but you had some Orioles thoughts. Well, guess what? Since yesterday when we got our Orioles thoughts out, they designated Craig Kimbrel for assignment. $13 million closer, didn't work out, got demoted. ERA's over 11 over the last month and change here. Not a huge, on September 18th, that's not that big of a deal. You're basically just telling him to kick rocks for the last couple of weeks of the regular season, and obviously he won't be on the postseason roster, but just a failed experiment. And I don't even really want to call it a failed experiment. I feel like failed experiments are when you call up prospects too soon and like Jackson Holliday's first stint in the big leagues was a failed experiment. They thought we could just call him up and he'll take off. Craig Kimbrel, it's not an experiment. Like, the guy is a borderline Hall of Famer. Say what you want about him being a Hall of Famer or not. I know that it's very complicated case. It's not a slam dunk, but he's a fringe Hall of Fame pitcher, relief pitcher. And he's at the end of the road here. It is what it is. It's, you roll the dice, hope that you get the best version of Kimbrel. The Orioles did not. So thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate Craig Kimbrel a lot. This is completely aside from everything. When he came out publicly and was like, yeah, I do this just because it makes me feel cool, I was like, okay, well, I think we're done here. I'm done here anyway. Yeah, the Orioles, you guys touched on it. You look at the numbers. The last 2 weeks, I was looking at this. They had 6 guys over the last 2 weeks. They have 6 guys with 34 or more at bats. There's one dude hitting over 235 and during that time. That's Colton Cowser. Gunnar Henderson. Over the last 30 days, they have 8 guys with 50 plus at bats. One dude hitting over 229 during that time. That's Gunnar. The guys in the rotation have done their job to an extent, but that's also been a big part of why the Orioles are experiencing what they're experiencing right now. They got 3/5 of a rotation, maybe more, on the shelf. Things not great there. The last month, the offense, abysmal, absolutely abysmal. The O's have scored 88 runs in the last 30 days. Can you take a guess who's just 7 runs behind them?
The White Sox?
You got it.
Oh, gosh. I hope they're the answer to every bad question moving forward.
Not quite. The Angels coming in with a 194 batting average. That's the only team worse than the 205 average for the O's over the last 30 days. The 340 slugging percentage as a group is 28th during that time, and the 627 OPS is also 28th over the last month. So again, I know you guys touched on the O's yesterday, but with the departure of Kimbrel and the lackluster offense, what it is, I wanted to just kind of throw my 2 cents in there as well. Not good.
I like the idea of RDT tuning in for the pod after that, really sad Orioles segment yesterday and being like, all right, good. We're free of that.
We're past that.
Like, we're going to talk some other stuff. Like he's laughing along. He's laughing along with the White Sox stuff. Like, man, those guys suck. And then it's like, oh, Dallas is going to read off our ranks for the last 2 months and they're bad.
Hang with him, bro. Hang with him, RDT.
Love RDT. All right. I think it's about that time.
Welcome back to Baseball is Dead Family Feud. I'm your man, Justin Havens. We've got a traditional matchup today. After all that fun with the Braden family last week, it's back to the BID family. Dallas and JRod in the seats. Dallas, obviously you had an opportunity to talk to Meg offline in a way that we did not. What was her experience like on Family Feud?
She was very nervous. But I think she felt good about her performance. She walked away talking a lot of shit. Yeah. She's been talking that shit, been bumping them gums since her appearance. And I'm just glad that we were able to put up a W ultimately.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether or not that was mostly due to me, I'm not going to talk about that. But it is what it is. She knows what team she's on.
She sent me a DM afterwards and she said that, maybe short of Steve Harvey, I was the best host of Family Feud that she's ever experienced.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
That's true. Cool. That's big time.
She's not one to pump tires either. So
no, that's nope. All right. Obviously we keep stats now, so there's a new level of stress here, pressure. Which of you guys is going to go first this week?
I believe it's Dallas's turn.
Okay. Yeah,
because
you were the closer for Meg. Remember?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! Just so much unnecessary stress for me.
You were the Raleigh fingers to her catfish hunter. All right. Although if your wife's got a mustache like that, I think we got to sound the alarm. Hey. All right, let's see here. All right. Jake, what's your take? How you think they're going to do?
It's interesting because this was the set of questions from last week.
Yep.
But Jayhay and I talked about it beforehand. We think they all still play.
Yep.
Yeah, I think getting back into the normal routine. Let's have a good round for the boys here.
Yeah, timeless questions. All right. Dallas, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
All right. Obviously, these are out of 100 BID fans. Thanks again to the Discord. Here we go. Question number 1. How many active MLB players would you consider at this moment locks to be elected to the Hall of Fame eventually?
4.
When I say the first name Carlos, who is the first baseball player who comes to mind?
Delgado.
Which fan base, if they fail to win the World Series this season, will be the most disappointed?
The Phillies.
If you could only watch one batter-pitcher matchup on repeat for the rest of your life, which 2 current players would you choose to face off?
Mason Miller, Shohei Ohtani. Paul Steen, Shohei Ohtani. Fuck!
I'll accept. Got to go with the first one. Sorry, buddy. Excluding the ninth inning, did he freeze because he freaked out?
No, I'm here.
Oh, he's here. Okay. Excluding the ninth inning, what is your favorite inning?
The seventh inning.
Thank you, Dallas. I need to hold on 1 second. Okay.
I want Skeens Ohtani.
I can't give it to you.
Fuck you.
Just strictly by the rules. If it was a timing thing, I would give it to you, but I can't. I can't.
How about how about I froze? Does that work?
No, because you froze after, unfortunately.
Come on, JRod. Don't fuck me here.
All right, JRod, pop him back on.
Hey, little fella.
Hello.
Hi. How we doing?
We're doing.
Okay.
Was it
I
bad?
almost fucked up.
No.
I made one.
He's had better, but yeah, there was a classic DB moment, which we'll all enjoy on the rewatch.
Well, I draw
Look at this.
It was an immediate answer out of the mouth, and then an immediate. No, I want this one. Unfortunately, we couldn't honor it.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
So here's the situation you find yourself in. Dallas got 77 points. Okay.
Oh my God.
So we need $123. All right.
Okay.
Which, listen, man, if we look at your averages, that's right in the ballpark of where you typically have. So $123 is not undoable by any means.
Mm-hmm.
There are, let me see. Thankfully for you, all of the most common answers are still on the board. So there is definitely a pathway here. All right.
Okay. Yep.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is, of course, out of 100 BID fans. Question 1. How many active MLB players would you consider at this moment to be locks to be elected to the Hall of Fame eventually?
6.
When I say the first name Carlos, who is the first baseball player who comes to mind?
Delgado. Beltran.
Which fan base, if they fail to win the World Series this season, will be the most disappointed?
Yankees.
If you could only watch one batter-pitcher matchup on repeat for the rest of your life, which two current players would you choose to face off?
Skeens Ohtani.
Excluding the ninth inning, what is your favorite inning?
The first inning.
Thank you, JRod. Take a look here. I'm going to do some quick math here on my phone calculator.
No way.
I probably put up like 175 there.
No way you drop a Delgado.
All right, here we go. Dallas had 77 points. You need 123 to win.
Okay.
How many active MLB players would you consider at this moment locks to be elected to the Hall of Fame eventually? Dallas delivered the answer of 4. That was tied for the second most common answer and got him 12 points. JRod, you landed on the answer that he's tied with. 6 also got you 12, tied for the second most common answer. That gets us up to 89 points with 4 questions remaining. The number one answer was 5, so you split it. With 19, obviously that was a question with a lot of variance, but the number one answer was 5 at 19. So we're at 89 points. Need 111. When I say the first name Carlos, who is the first baseball player that comes to mind? You guys are locked in on Carlos Delgado. He was the third most common answer. 11 points for Dallas on that one. Thankfully, JRod pivoted right into the number one answer, Carlos Beltran. Shout out to John Miller. 39 points easily. I mean, somehow, easily the number one answer. He's not even an active player. It's just amazing. I love this type. I'm using one of these every time.
Where's Baerga? Where's Baerga on that?
Baerga got 2. And
was Correa the second answer?
Correa was 2. Yeah. He got 13. He had a third of the answers as Carlos Delgado because Delgado got you 39 points.
That's
Let's go.
crazy.
I was this close from going Delgado to Baerga.
Yeah, Baerga would have been 2. That would have just since this is a fun one. The top 3 were Beltran, Correa, Delgado, Rodon, Santana, Carlos Gonzalez, Pena, Lee, Gomez, Baerga, Guillen, and Zambrano were the ones who got at least 2 votes
At
each.
least 2 votes.
Shout out to former Oakland A great Carlos Quentin, who snuck in with 1 vote. We are at 100. That was a nice jump there. That's 128 points with 3 questions remaining. So we need 72 points in 3 questions.
Okay.
Question 3. Which fan base, if they fail to win the World Series this season, will be the most disappointed? Dallas delivered the Phillies. That was the number 3 answer for 23 points. JRod delivered the number 2 answer, the Yankees at 26. The Dodgers were number 1 at 46.
But that's not right. I mean, the Yankees have 1 year of Soto. The Dodgers just won one in 2020. It's been longer for the Yankees, and they're more all in this year. And it's 1 year. Like the Dodgers have Ohtani and Yamamoto for the next 20 years.
These are all perfectly legitimate points. Unfortunately, good arguments don't add anything to your point total.
Yeah.
You are at 154 points with 2 questions left. This is absolutely viable. You need 46 points in the next 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you could only watch one batter-pitcher matchup on repeat for the rest of your life, which 2 current players would you choose to face off? This is where Dallas freaked out. At first, he said Ohtani Mason Miller. Of course he did. And then quickly pivoted to Ohtani Skeens. Unfortunately, Miller Ohtani was the one we had to accept, and that only got him 1 point.
Oh, come on! Jay, you're a son of a bitch. I want you to know that. I want you to know that.
Quite the swing.
Oh, what a fucking crock of shit.
No, that got as many votes as Tyler Matzik, Mookie Betts. So congratulations on that.
Tyler Matzik.
But JRod, fortunately, he got the answer that Dallas left on the board. And that, as I think both of you ended up realizing, is easily the number 1 answer. Ohtani Skeens got 31 votes. The next closest answer was Trout Ohtani, which got 12. Judge Ohtani got 8, and Devers Cole also got 8. So 31 on top of 154 drives us all the way up to $185 with 1 question left. Does JRod have 15 points in him, excluding the 9th inning? What is your favorite inning? Dallas was a good teammate. He said 7th. Got him 30 points. That was the second most common answer and his best answer of the round. But you know what he did?
He left the number 1 answer on the table.
He left that number 1 overall answer for Jerry Primetime. 43 was the number 1 answer. The first inning, that takes you well past what you needed to get. You ended up with 228 points. You guys did it again.
You guys.
Beat it, Discord.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I felt good on that one. I didn't panic when Delgado didn't hit.
I sure did.
Yeah, I know. You throw a Carlos Delgado out there, you feel pretty good about landing the plane. I would say, Skeens Ohtani, I was expecting to hear but I was expecting to hear the buzzer at Skeens Ohtani and the first inning. I didn't know where to go after the first if it wasn't an acceptable answer.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to go first inning.
First and seventh accounted for 73 of the 100 votes.
And I just think 7th inning, just because there's so many different traditions around ballparks, that's why I went 7th inning.
I thought about doing that question while taking out both the first and the 9th, which maybe it would have made things a little bit harder. But the drama paid off here. You guys got it in the last question. That's 2 weeks in a row where it came down to the final question on the final person in Family Feud. So I hope for all the fathers and sons, or fathers and daughters, or mothers and daughters, or mothers and sons that are bonding over Family Feud that they enjoyed this week's, because that was a good one.
I feel great about that one. I I didn't know. I mean, anytime that I need more than 100, I'm like, I feel good about 90-ish, in that range.
Yeah.
Like I could put up a 93 spot here and feel pretty good about myself, but that wouldn't have gotten the job done. What was the final point total for me?
So 228 overall, and we had a nice even breakdown here. Dallas got 77 and JRod got 151.
Okay.
So doubled Dallas up. I mean,
I needed that.
Not that it's important, not that stuff's important,
Right.
but
Well, I want to ask you guys, if Jayhay had phrased the question, take the 9th and the 1st out of it, Dallas would have went 7th. What inning
would you have gone with?
The 5th.
Obviously, the votes would have been distributed differently if the first innings 43 didn't exist. So you may still have been able to win in that scenario. But the next most common answer, do you want me to tell you?
The 8th?
It was the 6th for some reason.
The 6th.
Yeah, it was all kind of scattered. The 6th, 3rd, and 5th, and then 8th, and then 10th, and then 4th, and then someone answered 9th anyway.
I
like
respect
them.
that.
Yeah. Well, you gotta remember, the Discord friends are frantically trying to answer these questions. They have a split second. I actually think it's impressive that these answers are as rock solid as they are week to week, because people are taking maybe 5 seconds to answer each question. If you want to be one of the 100 to get in the 2 to 3 minute window, no matter what time of day or night we drop it. That's why we got the best fans in the world. And if you are one of our fans and you haven't done this yet, then I'm going to make sure you sign up with the promo code JRod. You get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. The promo calendar is absolutely locked and loaded this week. I mean, what's today? Thursday. So we got a 30% profit boost. Go check that out. Discounts come in the weekend. Sunday is obviously big NFL day. Check out our Jerry Primetime breakdown of Jets Pats earlier in the podcast if you want all the inside angles on the Thursday night football matchup. But yeah, promo code JRod. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, that is the most important thing. Shout out to the Baseball is Dead Discord. I think I know that they're listening. The Baseball is Dead Discord. Is there a way that we can put a pinned thread on the Baseball is Dead Reddit page with the link to the Discord? Because I feel like everyone always asks the link for the Discord on the Reddit. They're like, how do we get there?
I think somebody made me an admin on Reddit, so I think I can actually, even though I'm not savvy with Reddit, I think I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, because
So
people keep
I'll
asking,
handle
like,
that.
how do we get to the Discord? Also, every time that we post the podcast on Twitter, there's always the Baseball is Dead Discord. Twitter has a response with the link to it. So get in there. We appreciate everyone who takes the time to fill out the surveys for Family Feud every week. It's becoming one of my favorite things that we do in general.
No question.
So thank you to all who participate. We appreciate your efforts. Jayhay, do you have any nugs to take us into the weekend? We also have to do our factor for the weekend. Are we doing factor or no?
Not doing factor this week.
Not doing factor. All right, cool. We're not doing our factor for the weekend. But if you would like to point out some series that you're looking forward to this weekend, then please do so.
Okay. Well, I'll do that and nugs. How's that sound?
I would love that.
Just a handful of nugs today. We talked about Spencer Torkelson. I wanted to provide some specifics on that, some real-time nug work here. He had a 597 OPS and a 201 batting average in 54 games and 230 plate appearances before his demotion. Since his return, that batting average is up 61 points. It's 262. And that OPS is up nearly 200 points to 781 in 29 games and 120 plate appearances. So we can debate whether a 781 OPS is acceptable out of an offense-only former number 1 overall draft pick. But when the other option was that you literally have nothing for that selection, which is what Spencer Torkelson was before, I think the Tigers will gladly take a 781 OPS. Bryce Turang, 45th steal last night on the season. He is the first primary second baseman in Major League Baseball to record 45 steals in a season since the famous Mitt Warefield in 2018.
Yeah,
we all remember. We all remember old Mitt Wary.
Yeah.
The sixth player in franchise history, Turang is to reach 45 or more stolen bases in a season, regardless of position. Calling out JRod's two Padres boys here. Fernando Tatis Jr. through his first 60 games of the season had a 745 OPS and 9 homers. Over his last 34 games, he has 10 homers and a 1.005 OPS. And Manny Machado through his first 98 games. So his mediocrity extended quite a bit into the season. 719 OPS and 13 homers through 98 games. Over his last 46 games, he has 16 homers. So more homers in about half the games and a 1.007 OPS over that stretch. In terms of series that I'm looking forward to this weekend, it starts first and foremost with the Tigers and the Orioles. We talked about, and I think it's fitting that they're playing, and we spent so much time talking about those two teams over the course of the last two podcasts. I'm not a vibes guy. That's probably doesn't need to be said, but you can't get different vibes than what are going, at least between relevant teams, than what's going on with Detroit and what's going on with Baltimore. I won't belabor that point because we've talked about it, but the pitching matchups specifically are interesting to me because it starts off with Corbin Burnes against Kiter Montero. And to me, if one game is not going to be the difference maker here, but if the Orioles lose the Friday night Apple TV game of Corbin Burnes against Kiter Montero, that to me is like, let's just ratchet up the panic a little bit more. Because that's exactly the type of game that they should win. So I'm looking at that one. And then of course we get another Philly New York series starting as well, which obviously means a lot more to the Mets in the standings than it does to the Phillies. But usually when you get interdivision matchups like this late in the season, that team that has supposedly less to play for is usually playing for something as well. Maybe even just to stick it into the side of the Mets. So those are the two that I'll be watching for sure.
Okay. Dallas, any final thoughts? Series that stand out to you this weekend?
I can start with final thoughts. I'm not saying that people follow this account, but the whole the Dallas Braden out of context Twitter account. Put a face to it.
No.
Put a face to that account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just always it's always different. It's always cool. I think it's cool. So it was cool. And that's actually the second time in as many weeks that I have put a face to what will remain an anonymous account otherwise. So
question for you, Dallas.
What do you got?
Did this individual come up and just outright tell you that they were this person? Because the people that I've come into contact with that have these anonymous accounts on Twitter, they will talk to you for a while. And then as they're leaving, they will throw like a hint at you. And then either you get it or you don't. There was this one dude, we had a meet and greet at the Woo Sox game. And this kid came up to me. We were talking for 5-10 minutes. And then as he's walking away, he turns around. He goes, "Just remember, though, Cutter is king." And I was like, "Wait a second." I was like, "Are you the Cutter is king guy on Twitter?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. How'd you know?" And it's like, well,
well,
yeah, like that. So there's
wasn't
been
for you and
definitely
those
times
kids and that pesky dog.
Yeah, like you got to pay attention. Because they'll drop subtle hints, and I'm sure that there's been times where I've missed the hints, but that time I caught it. Did he just upright tell you like, "Hey, I'm the Dallas out of context guy"?
I received, yes, there was correspondence via the interwebs, and I was like, "Oh, really? You'll be there?" So I actually was like, "You know what, man? I'd love to get you BP passes." So what I'm going to need is your full name. And what I'm going to, and then I'm going to be able to put a face to that ass. So that was how I played it. It was like, yeah, absolutely. BP passes, come on down. Let's check it out. No, but it was
also,
really
what's
cool.
your social?
Yeah,
exactly. You have an address, zip code, date of birth if you could, just at your convenience. But it was cool to see, to meet him and his brother. So that was nice.
that's cool.
As far as As far as series this weekend, I'm going to be. I probably just got to get this out there. This week is going to be rough for me. This week is not going to be a lot of fun for me. It will and it won't. It's a double-edged sword. But I'm going to be trying my damnedest to pay as much attention to the games that are going to be unfolding in front of me on the field. And at the same time, I'm going to be trying to compartmentalize other thoughts and emotions. And so locking in right now this weekend, I'm not going to lie, is going to be tough for me outside of what the A's are doing. And the A's have the Yankees in town. Just to add another layer to that, Aaron Judge coming back and playing in a coliseum that he grew up attending. He's a huge part of anything that happens in our area here for obvious reasons. He is the torch. And so for him to be able to get to come back and I think for him close it out and put that ballpark to bed with friends and family in the building, I think that'll be special for him as well for obvious reasons. But that's what my weekend looks like.
Okay. We're also sending out Mike Emond, the fucking goat of video editing here at Underdog. We just put out the Section 10 night vlog on our YouTube channel. Mike Emond will be flying to Oakland, California to document Dallas's final day at the Coliseum from start to finish. He's going to wake up in bed next to him and follow him throughout the entire day, make sure that every moment is captured. And I will say this, Dallas, he's not only is he great at shooting, editing, producing, all that, but he also has the touch for sentimental things. So you will cry. Dallas is obviously going to cry, but I'm saying you, the viewer, you will watch this, even if you have no connection to the Oakland A's whatsoever, you'll watch this and I guarantee some tears because he's good like that. So be on the lookout for that. Jake's takes?
Just can't wait to get back out here on Monday and break down Project Dr. Wiener.
Yeah. Shout out to Project Dr. Wiener. If you're in Kansas City on Saturday, Coley and I will be in the hot dog race. Shout out Team Relish. Very excited to scratch the K off my list of ballparks that I've never been to. That'll knock it down to 8 remaining. So yeah, come on out, say hi, and we will be right back here on Monday as we draw closer to the postseason. October baseball coming right up. We'll see you on Monday. Love you guys. Bye.
Wow.